Welcome.
To the joy of coding.
Hello, and welcome to episode 314 of The Joy of Coding. My name is Mike Conley. It's so good to have you here. Episode 314. That's the first three digits of pi. I'm sure that's special. If you have access to pi, either sweet or savory, I encourage you to investigate that pie, maybe try eating some. I myself do not currently have access to pie, but maybe later tonight I'll get access to a pizza pie, and I'll eat that. Yes, it's episode 314. So good to have you here. A reminder, no plan survives breakfast. If this is your first time watching the stream, we're going to be live hacking on some Firefox stuff, and who knows what's going to happen, you know? Like, I have a vague idea of what I want to work on today and what I want to do, but things might get sidelined or sidetracked or rabbit holed, and that's okay. That's what we're trying to capture here. Software development in the raw, warts and all, the successes and the failures. That's the first thing. The second thing is that the agenda that we're looking at is available to you depending on where you're watching this video. It'll be in a different place. So if you're watching this on Air Mozilla, it'll be in the details section over here, that way. If you're watching on YouTube or on diode.zone, it's in the video description down below. And if you're watching this on Twitch, then it's down in the channel description down there. And as I update the agenda and type stuff in here, this will synchronize, and then the agenda should update. You can just hit reload. Let's actually just make sure that that's working. I didn't actually test to see if that was working. Let's double check. 314, there it is. So yeah, as I update this, you can just hit reload and this will update. So what are we working on today? Well, I wanted to review, first of all, a patch that just entered my review queue. So I wanted to start there. And then I thought we'd get back to the Windows jump lists. I've got the VPN open. I'm connected to my Windows machine. Last I checked, it was performing okay, the connection. I don't know if by streaming I'm going to end up ruining it at all, but we'll see. And we'll see if we can get some work done there. We've been working on this for a while. Last week was a very exciting episode. Episode 313, we actually got something to show up in the jump lists. That's nice. What I wanted to do this week is to clean up some stuff. We made a discovery sort of late in that episode that we need to refactor things a little bit or change the API design a little bit. So we're going to do that. And then there's a little piece I want to finish off before we start thinking about tests and testing and how we might make the whole thing more testable than the existing stuff. All right, but let's start with the review. What do I want to review? And that is this patch. So I'm one of several people working with a set of students from Cal State LA on improvements to the Migration Wizard. If you're not familiar with the Migration Wizard, this is, there's a dialog that if you go to like file import from another browser, I think there are a couple of different entry points to it, but it's not a very pretty dialog. Like, it looks like a window, like a native window, and it's just like checkboxes, and it's a wizard that hasn't changed much since it was first implemented. And we thought it was high time we start investing in improving it, and we're working with these students from Cal State LA to actually do that. And I wanted to review a patch from one of those students who's helping us experiment between two different variants of how we want the new dialog to look. So let's take a quick peek. We can start by applying the patch. Let's hope it applies cleanly. It does. We're going to build it. And I'm also going to launch Storybook if it's not already running. I don't think it is. Okay, Storybook is the thing that we use to sort of like exercise the Migration Wizard and other shared components that we're starting to write for Firefox. So I'm going to launch Storybook, and it's going to do a bunch of fun startup stuff. And then I'm going to run, while that's booting, I'm going to run the build. Then we're going to browse to this address. Okay, And in here, we're going to find it under Migration Wizard. This is variant 1. So this is a version of the Migration Wizard. It's still very early days. This is not the final, what it's supposed to look like exactly, but we're wanting to try 2 different variants of the Migration Wizard, where the first variant offers right away the user the ability to like check which items they want to import. These should all be checked by default, by the way. Like they start checked, and then the user can say like, okay, I don't want you to bring those in, that sort of thing. And then the other variant is this one, and the idea is it's supposed to have this like select all. It's supposed to be selected all by default, and then if you want to like, you'll have a list, like you can choose to import from a particular browser, and then we'll just like by default say, hey, we're importing all available data. And if you wanted to like drill down and be more specific, you can expand this and choose which data you actually want to import. So that's the second variant. And I'm already seeing a couple of things that I think we should be addressing here, just in the UI. Like that icon is not the right color in dark mode. Let's change the theme. So that looks right, a little more right. The alignment's a bit busted. We're gonna, I'm gonna need to do a deeper dive there, and maybe that can be a separate thing. And I'm unsure now that I see this whether or not like what we're supposed to do with select all if the user unchecks something that's select all. I'm not sure if this is able to be a tri-state. I don't know if we have a tri-state checkbox here, and that would actually be interesting to determine if we could put this in like the sort of the tri-state. If you're not familiar with tri-state checkboxes, it's whenever a checkbox has like, it's either checked, unchecked, or is in like a halfway state. That's a like the indeterminate state, and this person's like in 2011. They're like, hey, if you can set indeterminate set to true. I actually need to like dig into this to determine whether or not this actually works. Yeah, for example, that does not work. That I'm not in the indeterminate state. So I don't know if we actually support that or if that's generally supported anymore. But I want to look into that and to see whether or not there's some kind of like tri-state that we could use here, because that would make sense, I think. If you like unselect this, then this should probably either go into the tri-state or be unchecked entirely, and uncheck without unchecking all the other ones. Okay, so that's the variant. That's the second variant, and then this is the first variant. All right, I think we now can start taking a look at the patch and see how our student here, Nolan, thank you, Nolan, for working on this. We're going to see how Nolan is doing this. And the first thing he's doing is he's adding a pref to switch between the two states. That's the right call. And then in the Migration Wizard child, yeah, we determine which one to use. That's right. Yeah, import all pref. Yeah, that works for me. Okay. I actually think we can do this in one shot as opposed to, see, we're not including the page here, so that's, I'm actually curious to know how that's working properly if it doesn't know what page to I'll keep reading. And the way this is being done is we wrap our form fields with the details and summary. And then a select all. Okay. And then the logic for this stuff is all down here, presumably. in the event that the user clicks on select all, we're going to change the event. This should probably be an ID. That I don't see why we need to have a class for this. We're not going to have more than one select all. But in fact, maybe I'll do that now. Select all. Oh. Oh, I see. Select all label. Yeah. So I don't know why Fabricator is being so slow there. I think we can use the more direct ID by using let select all checkbox equals shadow query selector select all dot control and then select all checkbox add event listener change this JS. Then do we even need the class on the checkbox? Do we ever use the class again? Only for determining the state. And yeah, seeing if we're on the select all. Contains, if the classes contain select all. Oh, and then we get at the select all again. Select all. See, this is a little awkward because there's an ID of select all here and a class of select all, and that's a little confusing, which is why I was suggesting to use the ID here. Let's select all label. You could just use the ID instead of select all label. We can use select all rather than select all label here, and then remove that class from the original node. Select all label. And then, yeah, there's like just a little bit of collision here between this class name. Like there's a class, this is a similar class. This thing has a class, but it also has an ID. And I think I prefer using the ID. Yeah. For hiding and showing. And for the test. So he added a test too. That's great. Okay, I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. This is kind of hard to read. Hopefully it's I'm trying to find a balance. I want you to find it easy to read and me to find it easy to read. Let's call this show import all instead. And then instead of doing this in 2 steps, Instead of doing this in 2 steps, we can do it in 1. And then here's the suggestion. Set component state with import all being the value. Whoop. Of lazy dot, and then what was my suggestion? Show import all. Maybe we should call it with import all. It's kind of, now I wish this was called with import all, or show import all. It also might be nice to rename with import. Oh, here, I'm gonna. It might be nice to rename with import all used elsewhere to show import all to make the relationship clearer. Yeah. Okay. And then let's get into the nitty-gritty down here. So we add our event listener. And then when we show the page, we determine, we get our selection page. And we toggle. Oh, we should also update this. Show import all. And 2. Okay. Great. And then we're going to check to see what the event. We can actually put this. Hang on. Let's show. We're handling a change event here, and then we break, and then we enter here. I think we can put this inside. We can actually put this condition inside of the switch statement above, which handles the change event type, by adding your second condition as an else if. Hang on. And then for this line, the target I think we can eliminate the select all class entirely and just use the fact that form elements and labels refer to each other, so we can see below. If event target and then I think it's like label dot ID equals select all. I think that's how it works. If you have a label and checkbox text, and I get an access to the checkbox. Okay, let's execute some JavaScript. Query selector thing dot label. Oh, labels. Hmm. 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 All right. Well, maybe it's better than just to keep to help differentiate this from the select all ID being used for the label ancestor. Let's maybe call this class select all checkbox. And let checkboxes equal all the different checkboxes. If the checkbox is not equal to select all, I mean, okay, we could just like store this value and then just have them all be set to that. We can also iterate as like for let checkbox of checkboxes. And then this can be, there are specific if we get any label with a data resource type, we can get their underlying checkbox. So like I'm going to suggest label data resource type input type equals checkbox. If we make sure that the parent label has a data resource type attribute, we'll know that we're just getting the resource type checkboxes rather than the select all, rather than all the checkboxes, including the select all one. And then with the earlier tip about querying for just the checkboxes that have a parent label with data resource type, we can skip this check and instead stash the we can skip this check entirely. Okay, I think it's really quite far along. It's nice that we have this variant here. Let's selection page. And so here's his test. This is great. Selection page, okay, toggle attribute. He's gonna set it to false. Instead of hand applying this attribute directly, we should pass with import all or show import all if we rename, when you rename it, to the set state method above to have it do the work of putting the component into the state with into the variant1 state. Okay. We know that this test is for variant1, so we can skip this conditional check and should very much assert skip the conditional check. So get the select all. The summary, it should be hidden. Yeah. We should also check that details. We should also ensure that the details are expanded. This is where we can pass with import all or show import all true to put us in the variant2 state. We won't need the above these two lines if we have set state do the work for us. Selector shift to childless, yeah, resource type list. We don't need this condition either. We won't need this condition either because we assume this test is for variant 2 and not variant 1. All in all, pretty happy with where this is going. The last thing I wanted to check actually is to see what it looks like in the build. So like if that's how it actually, it's a little like we're gonna have to fix up the styling here. That's interesting. Port all enabled is false, and yet it's showing it. Yeah, that's why, like, we're gonna have to do this part. Thanks, Nolan. So, request changes. Thanks, Nolan. I really appreciate the great work here. And especially the test that you added. I have some suggestions and changes to request, but otherwise, this is really coming together. The way you can test your lazy preference is by 1, going to about config and setting content modal enabled to true, to enable the new dialog, and then 2, while still in about config, triggering the import dialog to file import, hit alt, go to file import from another browser, and ensure that variant 1 is displayed by default, 3, go back to about config, and set, what's it called? What's the preference? Import all enabled to true. To turn on the variant 2. Repeat, then hit escape to close the dialog. Escape or cancel to, then hit cancel, press cancel, close the dialog. Repeat step 2, but we expect variant 2 to be displayed. Okay. I changed the project tags. Testing approved. He's added a test, which is really nice. All right. I like my CSS like Karl Marx, like his economic system. Classless. That suggest edit is a very good feature. Yeah, it is a very good feature in Fabricator. It's very nice. There was a suggestion at one point of updating one of our tools that we use, MozFab, to communicate with Fabricator, to be able to pull down those code snippets and apply them to the repository, which I don't know if we'll ever get that, but it's a pretty neat idea. And so when it comes to classless CSS, my only the reason I prefer IDs in particular cases is if something is, there's only ever one. If there's only ever one, unless there's a good reason for it to have a class, I prefer to give it an ID to make it clear like there is only one. But if there's something that's being repeated a bunch, then that's when I use a class. That's what that's my philosophy behind it anyways. I know that there's like some intricacies and different philosophies related to things like the CSS selector precedence. IDs are extremely specific or more specific than classes, but in practice, I've never really been burned by that. I prefer the implicit information I get when I use a hash to know, oh, there's only one of these, which is really nice. All right, let us now move on to the Windows jump list. I cheated just a tiny little bit in that I did a little bit just before the stream started, and I'm going to show you what I did. I did this first part where like I want to get the method that we'd been working on called populate. We had two methods: populate jump list tasks and populate jump list custom. And it turns out we need to merge them into one method. We have to do them do population at the same time. Excuse me. And I want to get a build going. I didn't want you to have to sit through a giant build while I changed those interface endpoints. And so I did those in advance and did just the bare minimum to get it to compile. So I haven't actually done the work except change the interface endpoints, and then I changed like the header or like the method so that it'll build. I commented out a bunch of code. I commented out this and this, and then I commented out this, and then there's even more in here that I haven't committed. Okay, and then I have this other populate jump list 2 that I think I'm going to get rid of. All right, so populate, what we actually had before was these two different endpoints that we specialized into like one helper, and we're basically reversing that. Like we discovered that we actually have to do it at the same time. So what I had done before, which was to like have this helper that could do either the custom or the tasks category, we're just going to reverse all that. And so I can get rid of this method, for example. Or rather, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take what's going on in populate jump list, and we're just going to do it over here. Like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to do this. And then get rid of this. We are going to need to change descriptions in here to custom descriptions. We're basically going to have to do it twice. Maybe we do want to keep this helper around, but do it all off of the thread. Okay, I've changed my mind here. I like the fact that we have these two different things happening separately. I like that. But the change is that this will happen off of the main thread. Like, yeah, what I want is like to pass enough information to populate jump list 2 so that the do populate jump list over here with do populate jump list. What do I want to do here? What do I want to do? Because like we're looking at these categories. What were we doing with the custom? The custom descriptions. When were we adding those? Here, we build the list in the collection. And it's only when we're this is the what's removed, URIs to removed, right? Remove URIs to remove. Where'd those come from? Oh no, I'm wrong. Done with passing the P array of category custom. P array is just a new category. Oh, right. We query interface the thing that we created into one of these. And then instead of calling add user tasks, we call... Okay, I see. I see what's happening. Okay, so we basically have to put our loop back. Or like we have to do one, then the other. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's get all of this gunk. Sorry, my head is spinning. This we only want to do in the event that we're Shoot, I've already forgotten. When do we want to do that? Async delete. In populate jump list tasks, that's when we want to get rid of. And what was custom? Right. Hang on. Just want to make sure I get this right. We do this when we're dealing with the custom list, right? Category custom list. Yes. Yes, okay. That's when we delete the favicons. And we'll always do that because we're passing both. So I don't know what I'm worried about. Okay, do populate jump list. Populate jump list 2. Shoot, I had something in my clipboard. Yeah, it was this. We're gonna put this here instead. We're gonna get rid of tasks. We're gonna get rid of this. We're gonna get rid of this. How is this going to work? So we are getting our task descriptions and our custom descriptions. Get rid of the old icons. We don't have to do this assert anymore. We're going to create. We're going to have to do this twice, basically. We're creating task desks. And then custom desks. It'd be nice to dedupe that a little bit, but we'll start there. Okay. So instead of passing the category type, we are going to pass jump list. Originally it was the category, which we're not going to pass anymore. Then the custom title, and then we get, and then the promise that we're going to resolve, and then the descriptions. We're going to remove the category. We don't have that anymore. Instead, we are going to pass the tasks. So that's another one of these. Alright. Standard move. And then custom desks. And I actually think we should try and keep this sort of resembling the external call structure. So like it's tasks, then custom title, then custom descriptions, and then the promise. And then down here, first of all, did we get rid of all usages of category here? I think so. I'm gonna get rid of this, and instead we're getting custom title, a custom desks, and then also task desks. I guess I could say descriptions. Maybe that's better. That's what I used up here. Custom descriptions. All that. So far so good is common. And then this is where things start to... We basically want to do this twice. We want two different collections. Task collection. And then custom collection. Man, this is so annoying. Do I want to do it this way? Do I want yet another helper that uses the category thing? I think I do. I'm hating all this repetition. I think what I want to keep this structure. But then I want to call into a helper. I want to basically say like, do populate jump list helper, and then pass in like a category. Like ns result rv equals that. I'm going to pass in a category. I'm going to pass in like the task category and then the task descriptions. And then the other one will be like, and then like ensure RV is NSOK, and then do populate jump list helper. And the other one, I guess I want to pass in like empty string, task descriptions, category, a custom descriptions, and custom title. Ensure RV is NSOK. And then, resolving. We normally resolve the URIs to remove. Get from doing that. I'm waffling. I'm waffling, gang. Now I don't know if I want this helper. Maybe I do want to repeat myself just a little bit. Because so many of these things we actually can only do once in this whole batch. And then the promise thing is so annoying. We build the descriptions, add them to a collection, and then we just add them, add the tasks to the jump list manager. And then we commit. And then we always resolve with the URIs to remove. Yeah, all right. Not my favorite. Okay, let's go back to what we were doing. Task collection. I mean, we might be able to factor this out into a helper so we don't have to be so repetitive. But let's worry about that later. And then start by building the task list. Task collection. P task array. And then do this exact same thing again. In fact, maybe... Isn't this tooltip annoying? And now, have I lost the internet? Oh no, am I dropping frames? Oh no. Oh no. I've dropped from the internet. Hello? Oh no. Am I still on the internet? Ah, okay, if you're watching this recording, I apologize. I lost my internet at this point. Let's try changing networks. And back again. Come on. I might have to run upstairs and like restart the modem. I'm gonna send a message with my phone. Let's see if I have like, do I have internet on my phone? No, I do not. I think our network's gone down. Oh, okay. I'm gonna use data to send a message to the channel through Element. Ah, geez. Well, so hold on. Sorry, if you're watching this recording, this is not gonna be fun. This next few minutes. Just went out. Just give me a few moments to try to boot everything back up. Sorry, gang. I'm gonna have to run upstairs, try and fix this. if you're watching this recording, that was probably a thrilling few minutes. Sorry about that. Maybe if I have time, I'll edit out that big blank spot. But basically, I think our neighborhood network connection has just gone out. And yeah, oh, wait, no, we're back. We're back. We're back. Hold on a second. It seems to be working. I have the internet. OBS, come on, reconnect. OBS is reconnecting in 1 second. Reconnecting. Okay, reconnection successful. Reconnected. All right. Can y'all see this? Hang on. Everything is just starting to wake back up. Hello. Can you see me? Can you see me? Is this working? Oh man, the joy of coding. Just let me know if... Oh, that's a yes. All right. You can see me. Fantastic. All right. Well, that was a thrilling couple of minutes. My bad. I hope... shout out to my internet provider for, the outage, but we're back. We're back. And if you were watching the recording, I apologize. That probably wasn't very fun. If, hopefully you tracked forward through that big gap. All right. So where were we? Am I still on the VPN? I'm disconnected. I have to reconnect to the VPN. Just give me a quick second. Hold on. Two-factor up. Reconnecting to the VPN. All right, we're back. We're back, everyone. All right, let's keep going. Where were we? So maybe we can keep all this. It might make sense and make it easier to deduplicate some of the stuff if we keep the individual categories kind of bundled together. So we started with tasks and then build the custom list. Custom collection, and then we have to do this loop. And then we're going through the custom descriptions. And then we put in the custom collection the object. And then we get out the custom array. And then, you know what? We can get rid of the switch statement altogether. We're going to put this here. P task array. And then do this. Then build the custom list. An object. And then we do this part. P custom array. And then do this thing. And then get rid of all that. Then we commit the list, release the error handler, and then we always return the URIs removed. You know what? That's not that bad. I thought, like, man, that's going to be a lot of repetition, but it's not that bad. Let's see if it compiles. I got a feeling it's not. I have a feeling I've forgotten something. Let's see if it compiles. Fireglow goes, woo! And I go, woo! If you're from Toronto, you may be familiar with a local vendor of diamonds called Spence Diamonds. And they have these like really obnoxious radio commercials where it's like their catchphrase is just, woo! And I find it so obnoxious. But I thought of that whenever that I saw that woo. Okay, we got a really cryptic compiler error. Let's go to the very top as per usual. Scroll up to the very first error that we get. Error use of undeclared identifier title. It should be a custom title. That's on 8.12. Was it worried about does not match any declaration? Do populate jump list. Right, so I changed the structure. It occurs to me too that we might need to relax some of the like does Thunderbird has custom tasks or just tasks. It doesn't have like any custom items. Maybe that's okay. I'm just thinking about the other things that might end up using this mechanism that we have to consider. So we changed the structure of this method. We're gonna bring that over to the header. Do populate jump list. And that was, instead of using the category, yeah, we're just keep all this, I guess. It'd probably be best if they kind of wrapped around. I don't know what the preferred style is. Maybe something like that. Actually, I'm seeing from up here the preferred style might be this. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then the parentheses get wrapped around. Okay. Now will you build? Let me see if I can find the Spence Diamonds woo while we're waiting for this build. Spence Diamonds makes the worst ads, listing the most annoying Spence Diamonds ads. Oh, they air them in Vancouver as well. How do I find... The Spence Diamonds guy is a total moron. Wow. Anyone have any link to some Spence Diamonds ads? All right. what went wrong now? So we were building, and then it starts to complain. And right at the top of the complaints, like, this is all very unintelligible. I like to start from like the very first problem that it highlights. And in this case, it's, oh, yeah, of course. You don't like that I don't have my namespace there. And you probably want DOM promise as well. All right, let's try again. Okay. Not a fan. Not a fan. And what's it not a fan of? Right. I forgot to rename some things. 943. That should be task collection. And then this should be custom collection. All right, try that and then try that on for size. Are there any like? I don't want to hear a Spence Diamond commercial. I just want to hear the woo. I'm not going to make you listen to... I will make you listen to the woo. Maybe. You know what? This is a waste of time. Now what? I'm easily distracted. Category. Can't move the category because there's no... Okay, of course. Yeah, we can remove that thing. So, on line 1001, where we were calling into do populate jump list, we don't need to pass this anymore. Doesn't exist, dog. Also upset by something else. Now you are upset by constructor. Okay. Now we're getting into the real nitty-gritty. The constructor doesn't match. And it's complaining about the constructor for here. Custom title, custom descriptions, promise. That's to populate jump list, task descriptions, custom title, custom descriptions, promise. shortcut description, a string. Oh, yeah. I got this out of order. Promise comes last. All right. How do you like me now? Woo! And how are we going to test this thing? I've been thinking about that kind of off and on, and I spoke to some people, are like Windows specialists, and they basically told me, oh, here's a moment of truth. Linking. It linked. Very nice. They basically told me that what we probably want to do is find a way of mocking out these like these calls, you know, down where we're like calling begin list and passing it these things, and then add user tasks. So basically all of the calls to jump list manager we might want to mock out, like have it be a thing that can be mocked, this jump list manager. And, you know, supply that either at runtime. We can we can mock it by constructing a jump list builder, like composing it with the mock, or find some way of indicating it to it, hey, we want to use this mock object instead. And that mock object, we need to find a way of getting information out of it. That's kind of the other end of things. After you register it, what good is it? Well, I need it to be able to report back. So I might need like another XBCOM interface for this. Yeah, because I want to expose it. Well, do I want? No, I don't want to expose to JavaScript. What do I want to do here? And create. Can I call from a G test? Maybe I have to do populate thing. I don't know. I'll have to think about it. All right. Where is the horn that was blowing? Where is the rider? That's a Lord of the Rings reference. So let's see here. We're going to create our builder. Builder, populate jump list. Now we actually have in our history here probably some pre-existing forms we can use. Yeah. So we're going to say populate jump list, and I'm going to say title test task path, that path, description, hola, fallback icon index 0, arguments, fubarbaz. All right, what happens if I call that? Do we crash? Missing. I didn't do it right. Okay. Oh, right. And then a comma here. Okay, and we got back an empty array. Let's see what we got. There it is. Hello world. Hello world again. Okay, that's good. So we have something that could, in theory, now be used by the front end to populate this thing. Smurf D asks, couldn't you like check how many items are on the list, add 3 items, remove 1 item, and then check how many items are in the list? But how is another question. Well, exactly, right? Like an automated test ideally would be able to interrogate, well, it depends. Like we're bumping up against like test philosophies here. Like a full integration test would basically ask Windows, hey, now that I've called this method with these arguments, can you tell me what's in this list? Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way of asking Windows what's in this list. Like, I don't think there's an API that allows us to like get that information back out again. Now, there are potentially ways, like we were kind of, last week you saw me leafing around in GitHub looking at like a mechanism for like Windows automated testing framework. And I don't think we're going to like use that anytime soon for Firefox. So I think that's a non-starter, at least for now. What might make more sense is not testing the Windows part of it. Like, we will assume that Microsoft has tested these API endpoints. I don't want to or need to test that they function properly. What I need to test is that we call them properly. And that means plugging in some kind of mock object in place of the Win32 stuff. And I can actually augment it with additional information that lets us interrogate like what was passed to you. So we would likely write these as G-tests. G-tests are that's how we write tests for C++ or in C++. We have a bunch of G-tests. Excuse me. And along with the G-test framework, there's something called Google Mock, and there is some documentation on how to use it. And basically the way it works is, what we've been doing up until now, if you'll observe, is like when we call some of these functions, these Win32 functions, the way we do it is we just reach into the ether and say like, hey, co-create instance this thing, or like that's one example. This like global method that's available to us, this global function. There are definitely others. Sometimes they start with double colons. That's a way of indicating it's like in like not a particular namespace. Oh, thank you. I just got coffee delivery, everyone. Thank you very much. Delicious. And so the idea is, instead of calling directly into this thing, I call into an interface that calls into, basically I add a delegate, something that delegates, like an intermediary, and I can mock out the back end of that intermediary so that in the default case, it just delegates and passes it along to the Win32 stuff as like a pass-through channel. But when I'm testing, I can plug in something else that implements that interface and then augment it with additional information, like, for example, having it return the items that were passed to it, or have it be prepared to return a certain set of items. And mock objects are one way of doing that. And this is Google Tests documentation for doing this sort of thing. Like, it's not possible to directly mock a free function. You can rewrite your code to use an interface abstract class, like that, an interface, aka an abstract class. So instead of calling a free function, say open file, introduce an interface for it and have a concrete subclass that calls the free function, and then have your code talk to file interface to open a file. Now it's easy to mock out the function. If you're concerned about the performance overhead incurred by virtual functions and profile confirms you're concerned, you combine this with the recipe for mocking non-virtual methods. Alternatively, instead of introducing a new interface, you can rewrite your code to accept a standard function instead of a free function, and then use mock function to mock the standard function. Mocking non-virtual methods. high perf dependency injection. In this case, instead of sharing a common base class, the real class you mock class will be unrelated to the real class, but contain methods with the same signatures. Syntax for mocking non-virtual methods is the same as mocking virtual methods, just don't add override. Next, you need to find a way to say that you want concrete packet stream in production code and use mock packet stream test. Since the functions are not virtual and two classes are unrelated, you must specify your new choice at compile time. Template your code. Oh, jeez. Yeah, I don't think we necessarily need to do this for we're already off of the main thread. This isn't a super hot path. This is a thing that's called once every couple of minutes off of the main thread. So let's see how we've used mocking mocking for dummies. How does it work? All right, we're going to read this for a couple minutes, and I'm going to spend the week thinking about it. And then maybe next week we can try implementing some of this. Although, where did we get to? Let me go back to our list here. Yes, we did this. And then the URL removal thing. Basically, if an item is removed, the next call to append category this call needs to display something else entirely. Yeah, the URL removal thing will have to happen. Like, it works. Let's demonstrate. So, like, hello world again. I'm going to remove that item from the list. And then over here, I'm going to pass in something different. Here's Johnny2, Foo2. And we should get back foo, yeah, which was the arguments. In the event of a URL, the arguments will be a URL. So that's working. So good stuff. I think I checked that box. And then we're here. And then we need to greatly clean. We have made a mess. If you want to use like a workshop as a metaphor, we've got like a gaping hole in the side of the building, and there's like a car that's been smashed through it, and we've got the hood open, and the engine is half lifted out, and I've got like shims and, you know, things precariously. We got to clean up. And now that we have sort of like converged on something that seems to work, we need to start cleaning up a little bit. And then maybe make sure that everything is plausibly working by actually doing this. Now, here's the other thing. It might be worth keeping both mechanisms, the old one and the new one, and then having a pref to switch between the two to make it easier to revert in the event that we've gotten something wrong here. That's the thing to keep in mind. So actually what I'll do is make our approach prefable. Put all the old stuff back. Gulp. And update Windows jump list to use the new mechanism on a pref. And then all of the remove the old implementation, maybe all of this stuff might have to wait once we roll this out and we're confident that it works. We can remove the old implementation. But this is important. So this is the next thing. Let's keep reading. Often it's not feasible or wise to rely on real objects entirely. A mock object implements the same interface as a real object, but lets you specify at runtime how it will be used and what it should do. It's easy to confuse the term fake objects with mock objects. Fakes and mocks are actually mean very different things. Fake objects have working implementations, but usually take some shortcut, which makes them not suitable for production, like an in-memory file system. Okay. Ooh. Smurfd just linked to this. Windows jump list helper library in Python. How does it work? It basically exposes the it's using Win32 com. Okay. Python com. It's basically exposing what we did with our old XPCOM implementation, which was to expose this stuff to the callers. It's a thin Python sugary layer over top of the actual Win32 APIs. Do they have a way of testing? So this is an example. They use tkinter to create a window, and then they just like run the window main loop. What is this? Spec. No. Windows jump list testing. Automated testing. Link file jump list parser. What's this? It's like a forensic tool to where's the that's an idea. I mean, we could mock this stuff out, or we could actually like use it and then see if Windows stores the jump list data somewhere that we can get access to. That's more like an integration test, but and we wouldn't be able to test the removal scenario. That's the difference. We wouldn't be able to test the removal. Okay, anyways, let's go back to this documentation. Sometimes we also call it framework to make it sound cool. Creating mock classes and using them. So create some simple macros to describe the interface you want to mock. Create some mock objects, specifies expectations of behavior using intuitive syntax, then you exercise code to use the mock objects. Catch any violation. Mock turtles. Let's look at an example. So, using the turtle interface as an example, define a class mock turtle from turtle. Take a virtual function of turtle. That comes the fun part. You take the function signature, cut and paste into the macro, and add two commas, one between the return type and the name, another between the name and the argument list. Mock method. Return value, name, arguments it expects, and then since you're overriding, we suggest adding the override. Until all virtual functions you want to mock are done. All pure virtual methods must be either mocked or overwritten. After the process, you should have something like this. You don't need to define these mock methods somewhere else. The mock method macro will generate the definitions for you. It's that simple. When you define a mock class, you decide where to put its definition. Another way you can. Okay, generally you should not mock classes you don't own. If you must mock such a class, don't buy others. Define the mock class in foo's Bazel package and put it in AH and see saliva test only choose. Section of the test. If whoever, hang on a second. Some people put it in underscore test.ccc. Test.cc. This is fine when the interface being mocked. Say foo is owned by the same person or team. Otherwise, when the owner of foo changes, your test could break. You don't really expect foo's maintainer to fix every test that uses foo, can you? Right, okay. Generally, you should not mock classes you don't own. Thin layer foo adapter on top of foo and code to this new interface. Since your own foo adapter, you can absorb changes in foo much more easily. While this is more work initially, carefully choosing adapter interface can make your code easier to write and be more readable, as you can choose foo adapter to fit your specific domain much better. Okay, using mocks and tests. Import the gmock names to the test namespace. Create some mock objects. Specify our expectations. Extract some code that uses the mocks. The mock is instructed. Okay, here's some examples. Test. Create a mock turtle. Expect that turtle pen down times, and then we create a painter and we pass in the turtle. Okay. So that's the way it works, is that like it's part of the construction. So I wonder if when we construct a jump list builder, I'm going to just do this on my local machine for a second. Jump list builder. Jump list builder. Right. Can we pass in some kind of like mock? So like create jump list builder. Let's look at the implementation of this. We're going to create an instance of the K jump list builder. I wonder if here's where, if depending on if we're testing, if we could pass in we don't want this exposed to XPCOM, I think. So if we have like a helper function that this calls, that our tests could call, it's like create jump list builder native or something that forwards over to this, and you can pass it a reference to a thing. The object, the thing that we're eventually going to call methods on. That we want to move that thing off of the main thread. It's basically a thing that wraps jump list builder. Like the M jump list thing inside here. That's what we're effectively doing. Jump list manager or whatever. Like, we're wrapping this. Begin list. You pass these things. add user tasks, append category, and then commit the list. That's, I think, what we want to mock out. We want to mock out this jump list manager thing. We want to wrap it with an abstract class. Okay, let's write down a potential plan here. Let's update win taskbar to have a new method that can be accessed from native code, so not through XPCOM, called like create jump list builder, do create jump list builder or something. Have it take an argument that is a reference to something that implements a jump list manager interface. Have jump list builder move that thing to the background thread. The background thread owns it. Then in our tests, have our gtest call do create jump list builder, passing it something that mocks out jump list manager. Yeah. And from there, and then call its populate jump list method for testing. Okay, I like that. I like that. Now, it's been a long time since I've written a G test. I've never written one from scratch. That's going to be really interesting, and we can start maybe trying to do that next week. So I don't think I'm ready to check this one off just yet to make the above testable and write tests, but we have a vague idea of a plan. And so next week, let's see if we can make some headway on that. Maybe we can get started on a G test and start writing some tests. And then I think we need to start cleaning up once it's testable. Oh, it doesn't have to do so much lazy stuff since, no, we don't want to do that. Make our approach preferable. Put the old stuff behind a pref. Use the new mechanism on a pref. That's what we want to do. And then, yeah, clean it all up and be prefable, and then see if it works. Turn on the new one. But we got to clean up. We're getting really close. Like, I'd say the hardest part is over. The next challenge is the testing. That's going to be interesting and a real stretch of my C++ abilities, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And then the rest of it is just kind of like cleanup, which is very satisfying when it's done right. Cleanup to make it so that we can have both of these states run, both of these mechanisms run. And then that might be an interesting challenge. And then we can put it up for review, hopefully get it landed, and then we could try turning it on for some people in Nightly. We could have people opt into it just to test it out. We could ask our QA people to start testing it, and then we can start doing some controlled rollouts. And as soon as we're confident that we have got the behavior that we want, we might even be able to do some like tests to make sure that the hangs, ultimately this is to reduce hangs and reduce main thread IO. So if we can show that like that's coming down, then we can do a controlled rollout, get it all out there, and then we can start removing the old mechanism. Oh, before I do this, there's one last thing. See how Thunderbird uses jump list builder in case there are things we need to support there. I don't think it does anything too special. We can actually do that right now. Actually, com central jump list builder. Mail. Yeah, it's really short here. Prefs, add some tasks. Just build some tasks. Yeah, it's just very simple tasks. This is Sid. Oh, Rain did this back in the day. Yeah, so it's a very simple usage. We might actually be able to have Thunderbird use the mechanism very simply, which would be cool. All right, I'm going to stop the episode there. Thank you so much for watching episode 314, the Pi episode. I hope that was interesting. I apologize for the network hiccup in the middle. Thanks for sticking it out if you happen to stick it out. I appreciate that. If you happen to be watching the recording, I'm sorry for the big gap in the middle there. But, you know, we got somewhere interesting in the end. I think we've got an idea for how we can write a test for this jump list stuff. I'm pleased about that. And again, if you're worried that this is taking, if you're like, man, we've been working on this for months, is this how long it takes to do stuff with Firefox? Remember that I'm only really working on this during the stream. So like an hour and a half at a time, and not including on and off ramp, probably means I've done less than 3 days total work on this. Less than a week, certainly. So yeah, this is fully realistic. Thanks again for watching episode 314. Let me know what you thought. There is a link in the agenda to rate this episode. I read everything that comes in. If you've got questions, suggestions, things you want to see more of, things you want to see less of, this is the best way to reach me, is to rate this episode. I highly appreciate those coming in. It helps me know whether or not I'm giving you any value in this stream. It helps me craft the stream so that it's useful for you. So if there's anything that you'd like changed, or you're like, man, this is really bugging me, I wish you'd do this instead, let me know. I read everything that comes in. So thanks again for watching episode 314. I will see you next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
The joy of coding.
See ya.